At 6:27 p.m., the sunset put copper on our gravel and a hush on the street. My daughter had one foot out of the truck, a pizza balanced on her palm, when a voice snapped the quiet clean in half. "Join the HOA, or you won't like how tonight ends." We both turned. HOA Karen, tan visor, clipboard pressed like a badge, stood 5 yards away on our easement. Beside her, a man in a branded polo smirked like he'd practiced it in the mirror. Then the visor dipped, and my brain stopped, because her hand came up with a gun. My daughter, jeans, hoodie, hair in a ponytail, set the pizza on the tailgate and raised both hands to shoulder height. Calm, certain, like I've seen her do 1,000 times, but never in my front yard. "Ma'am," she said, strong but level, "put the firearm down." "Now," Karen's mouth twisted. "It's a neighborhood compliance check. You're trespassing until you pay your dues. I don't remember moving, and I don't remember breathing." I remember my daughter's voice. Lower. Trained. "Dad, step back to the porch," she said without taking her eyes off the gun. "Call dispatch. Use the direct line on my card. Say off-duty brandish and our address." I stepped back. My hand shook. I dialed the number on the little laminate I've carried since the day my daughter earned her star. "County Communications," a calm voice said. "This is 312 Oak Hollow," I stammered. "Off-duty deputy on scene. My daughter, subject. Brandishing a firearm, verbal threats, no shots fired. Units en route." "Keep line open," the dispatcher said. My daughter lifted her sweatshirt hem just enough to expose her badge clipped at the belt. No hero pose. Just a fact. "Ma'am," she said again. "I am the sheriff. Put the gun on the ground. Now." Karen's face froze like someone had pulled the plug on her certainty. The polo shirt man took a half step back, hands up and empty. Somewhere down the block, a door creaked, and a neighbor whispered, "Oh my God," to the air. The gun thudded on our gravel. My daughter never blinked. "Step back from the weapon," she said. "Interlace your fingers on top of your head." Sirens, short chirps, rolled in low. The kind they use when they're telling danger it doesn't get to run the show tonight. How we got to a gun in my driveway. Before this house, our problems were normal ones. A leaky dishwasher, the cat finding the one patch of sun and turning it into religion. We bought the old bungalow at the end of Oak Hollow because the oaks arch over the lane like a promise. The listing said, "No HOA." The sign the developer later put at the entrance said, "Oak Hollow, a deed restricted. Community." The difference between those two sentences is a canyon you shouldn't have to cross to get your mail. The first flyer from the Property Owners Association, they later admitted they weren't recorded as one, welcomed us with optional. Social club language. Optional, I can do. I've opted into worse, bake sales with raisins, for example. 2 months later, optional became mandatory. The HOA board, 3 volunteers led by the visor, voted by email, as if that counts, to enroll all residents in a 95-month amenities package: pool access, lake party, neighborhood protection. We aren't pool people. We aren't party lake people. We are leaf-raking people. We said no, in writing, with the covenants attached. The covenants that don't exist for us. Our lot, Lot 27, predates their filing, never opted in, and says nothing about dues beyond the county tax bill we pay, like religion. The notices escalated in font size and boldness: pay or face consequences. 2 security volunteers blocked my drive with a golf cart one morning and informed me my trash bins violated community times. I rolled them to the alley the way my father taught me: quiet, respectful, and didn't sleep that night. I did what my daughter always taught me, what her mother taught me before that: paper beats shouting. I wrote the board-certified letters, I copied the county recorder, I CC'd the management company's beige voice. My daughter, Sergeant Elena Walker, newly elected sheriff of our county after 12 years in patrol and 2 in investigations, came over one Friday with pizza and a folder of calm. "You've done it right," she said. "If they step onto your property again with threats, call me first, then 911, and don't open the door unless you want to." We didn't invite trouble. Trouble invited itself. The night of the threat. Pizza was pepperoni and hope. Elena had worked 10 straight days after a storm chewed up 3 townships and spit out downed lines. She never brings her work home. She brings her stories home. They smell like rain and relief. She wears the star like a promise, not a weapon. We were 3 steps from our porch when Karen and the polo shirt man appeared at the corner of the hedge. "Payment tonight," she announced, voice pitched for an audience. "Or I'll write the lien, and we'll shut off your water." "You can't shut off a municipal service," Elena said, still gentle, "the way you speak to someone you hope is acting and not being." The man in the polo rolled his wrist like a magician. "We can." "No," Elena said. "You can't." Karen's hand dipped. When it came back up, the world changed. The gun looked wrong in her palm, like it belonged to a fear, not a person. My chest went empty. Elena's training clicked. "Into the space panic left. Put the firearm down," she said, projecting calm across the driveway like a bridge. "Don't reach for it again." "It's legal to carry," Karen said, breath quick. "It's illegal to threaten," Elena said. "Drop it." I heard a neighbor's phone start recording. I heard our wind chimes ask to be quiet. I heard my own name in my head the way my wife used to say it when I was about to do something dumb like climb a ladder without tying it off. The gun hit the gravel. Elena's voice lowered another degree. "Step back," she said. "Hands on your head." Karen's eyes darted. From badge to face to my porch cam lens to the red dots from our solar path lights on her shoes. She laced her fingers like someone obeying gravity, not law. The man in the polo said, "This isn't how the board wanted," that which is probably the truest thing he said all night. Blue lights, body cams, and the sound of Law 3 patrol units turned onto Oak Hollow. No screech, no drama. Elena took 1 step back from the gun, hands still up and empty, and announced in the clear voice she uses on the radio, "Sheriff on scene. 2 subjects compliant, 1 firearm on ground, safe direction, no shots fired." The first deputy out, Martinez, who Elena trained when he was a rookie with a haircut that didn't understand humidity, took in the scene with 1 glance. "Sheriff, you good?" he asked. "I'm good," she said. "Get me a cover on the gun, please." He placed an evidence cone and a clear guard over the weapon without touching it, then moved to Karen. "Ma'am," he said, "you're detained. We'll talk about why. For now, let's keep this calm." Karen found her words like stones. "She threatened me," she said, pointing at Elena with the only tool she had left, her mouth. The second deputy, Zhao, guided me a few steps up the porch. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked. I realized my hands were trembling so hard I'd set the pizza askew. "Fine," I lied. She straightened the box like a nurse fixing a blanket. Martinez read Karen the rights you hope you never hear in your yard. She started to cry. Not pretty, not performance. It came out of her like a truth she'd swallowed. The man in the polo kept repeating, we thought, until Zhao asked him politely to save it for the report. Elena holstered nothing because she'd never unholstered anything. She stood there with her palms open as if to say, "Look, world, I did not let my fear make a decision my training didn't approve." "Sheriff," Martinez said, "you want to brief us?" "Off duty at my father's residence," she said. These 2 approached demanding payment to join an HOA we're not subject to. Verbal threats to shut off utilities. Brandished a firearm when told no. I directed them to disarm and step away. No injuries. Dispatch recorded my initial call. Martinez. Nodded, methodical. "We'll book for aggravated assault with a firearm and brandishing, subject to DA review," he said quietly. We'll also write up the extortion angle and the utility threat, if Muni confirms it. Elena's jaw tightened a fraction at the word DA. She hates charging people, loves protecting people. It's a tightrope. She stays on it because she knows what happens when nobody does. The man in the polo finally said his own name and title. Compliance Captain. Martinez blinked once. You're a volunteer, he said, and you brought a gun to demand money from a neighbor. It's legal to volunteer, the man offered, which even he heard was not the point. After the adrenaline, the paper that matters, adrenaline leaves the way a storm does. The yard looked too normal. The porch light included us again. The pizza was still warm. Elena did 3 things I've learned are the only things that work after a night like this. She called her husband to say she was okay. She texted her undersheriff the headline so he wouldn't hear it from the rumor mill. And she sat down. Eat, I said, and we did, with our elbows on our knees like kids. Deputy Zhao came back with a clipboard and presents. We'll need your statements, she said. Do you want a victim advocate to call you? Please, I said, because men who say no to help often end up yelling in drive-through lines later for reasons they can't name. She handed me a card with a number, and the quiet compassion of someone who has learned to slide care under the door of pride. Martinez brought the evidence bag where the gun now slept without power. He logged it with the same respect you give, a tool that turned into a weapon when a feeling asked it to. They loaded Karen into a cruiser. She looked at the house, then at Elena. The look wasn't hate or even despair. It was comprehension. The way you look at a map when you realize the road you built in your head isn't on it. Ma'am, Elena said, voice low enough to keep its dignity, this could have ended in 10 worse ways. It didn't. It won't again. Do you understand me? Karen nodded once. I didn't know, she said, and I believed her. Ignorance doesn't excuse. It sometimes explains. The board meeting. That finally met a board 3 days later. The HOA held an emergency meeting. The clubhouse smelled like toner and panic. The management company's beige voice had been replaced with a lawyer's weary one. The insurance carrier dialed in, which told me someone had already called to ask about coverage. We need to address the incident at 312 Oak Hollow, the board president said, voice wobbling. Karen wasn't there. The compliance captain was without his polo, looking like a man in a borrowed shirt at a funeral. The lawyer stood. There is no authority for this association to require dues from parcels not subject to the recorded covenants, she said. There is no authority for volunteers to conduct compliance checks on private property. There is certainly no authority to threaten or brandish weapons to collect money. Beige voice. Carla tried to say nevertheless. The lawyer didn't let her. Stop talking, she said, and the room exhaled the kind of laugh that lives at the intersection of shock and relief. Elena, in a blazer that hides the star but not the backbone, stood at the back with Zhao. She didn't speak. She watched. She let the room belong to the people who'd chosen to sit at the table and now had to choose whether to set it on fire or eat what they'd cooked. 3 motions passed like people who'd learned how dissolve the compliance patrol. No. Volunteers may approach homes about dues, rules, or fees. All concerns must go through management in writing. Acknowledge publicly that certain parcels, including Lot 27, are not subject to the covenants. Cease all attempts to bill or collect from them. Adopt a no weapons at HOA business policy. Board members and volunteers may not bring firearms to any HOA-related interaction. The lawyer added, this is in addition to state law. The insurance rep on speaker cleared his throat into a tiny microphone. Your general liability carrier will require de-escalation training for the entire board as a condition of renewal, he said. Also, we strongly recommend retaining a parliamentarian. Email voting to enact assessments is not governance. Jerry, Neighbor, brisket artisan, breaker of tension, raised a hand. Can we also vote that pizza is mandatory at future meetings? We did not vote. We agreed in spirit, court, consequences, and the catalog of small repairs. The DA charged Karen with aggravated assault with a firearm, brandishing, and attempted coercion. The DA did not relish it. Neither did Elena, but they both did their jobs. Karen pleaded to reduced charges, felony brandishing and misdemeanor coercion. The sentence, 2 years probation, mandatory firearms safety course, community service, not with the HOA, a no-contact order with our family, and individual counseling. Her weapon was surrendered per state law. I don't know if she cried in court. I know I did, later, in the garage, for everything that almost happened and didn't. The compliance captain took a plea to misdemeanor attempted coercion and trespassing. He will be reading Robert's Rules in a community service room until his grandchildren are born. The HOA's insurance premium went up in a way that made everyone a financial conservative overnight. They hired an actual manager. They stopped sending threats and started sending questions. It is amazing what happens when people read the documents they signed. We did the small repairs that matter more than policy. Elena walked me through how to sleep again without replaying the sound a gun makes when it hits gravel. I brought the deputies 3 pizzas labeled pepperoni, mushroom, and thank you. We had a cookout. We invited the whole street. Karen's husband came. He brought coleslaw and eyes that had learned how to be sorry for something he didn't do and should have stopped. Our cul-de-sac started a group text that was actually useful. Skunk at 8. Package at your door. Anyone need milk? Elena hates being called a hero. She says the word is heavy and lazy. She prefers neighbor and trained. I prefer daughter, which has carried me through more storms than any policy. The part where we stay a week after court, i.e., little girl down the block drew a chalk badge on our driveway and wrote, "Thank you," in letters so big a drone could read them. Elena cried the private cry in the truck with the windows up and the radio on. I caught it anyway. I took a picture I won't post because the internet doesn't deserve all our secrets. Karen started a different kind of committee, the one that meets with a therapist on Tuesdays. The HOA started another, the one that learns what statute means and how not to make it a threat. The oaks dropped leaves like handshakes. We raked them into unreasonable piles and invited the neighborhood kids to jump. The compliance captain came by with his hat in his hands and apologized to Elena with a sentence that had no defensiveness in it. She nodded. She didn't absolve. That's not her job. She accepted. Sometimes that's enough. Every now and then I think about the pizza that almost became the last thing my daughter ate. Then I remember the sound a deputy made when he put a clear guard over a gun on my gravel. Gentle, precise, boring, and I breathe again. If you take nothing else from this, calm is a tool. Paper is a shield. Good neighbors are the difference between a story with a headline and one with a hearth. And if someone ever points a weapon at you to collect a fee you don't owe, step back, call the calm number, and let a trained voice make the next move.